I want to talk about basically, this hopefully this isn't brand new for anybody that's been, you know, participating in this in this with me for some time now. But like these are the tools that you need to have, in your tool belt, in your arsenal, what you need to have established uh and use consistently from here. The tools for your business, the tools needed for running a successful business. And in one hand, like you can look at this list of what do we got? Three, 6, 9, 12, and be like, holy crap, that's a lot. I gotta figure all this, I gotta figure out 12 things, and that's intimidating and that's a lot. And on the other hand, there's elements that get lumped together. And for example, like the first three, your why, your goals, and the income goal to fund your goals, like that's just one in itself, right? And it's also not something that you're going to have specific action on per day per week that becomes overwhelming. A lot of these tools are foundational to how your business needs to run, right? Like a database and a pipeline and the systems for it. And then a lot of them are guides, like an economic model and the plans. But, it becomes imperative to make sure that there is um, a focus applied to establishing these tools and using them, at a consistent level from here. So what I wanted to do is it's September and we're getting a jump start on goal setting and business planning, season that comes up here for most in October, late October, November, even into December, where it's like, all right, let's create the business plan for 2026. I think it's certainly like a given that, you shouldn't be creating a business plan on January 1st for the year ahead. And from there it just becomes how much time do you give yourself to plan ahead. And my thing is like, let's treat 2026, let's treat each year to where you have this pivotal time that happens in the fall of each year where it's like, okay, the push to finish the year strong and ultimately treating the year ahead like it has 5 quarters instead of four. So this becomes a really cool opportunity seasonally and annually to where you know, you can both make or break the year that you're in, and you can make or break the year that's ahead by what you do in the next 3 months. And, the good news is that like it becomes the same formula for every quarter, every season is to take this set of tools and establish them and use them and have that be the guide to what you need to perform to. So what I want to take some time to do right now in this session is just to be able to give the refresher or the initial brief summary on each of these to give you the proper context of how to think about it and then break it down you know individually per topic per tool to establish or improve from here. So I'm going to start at the top with start with why. Simon Sinek, great book, but just this concept of your why, and it's deep. I get it, cliche in a way, but it's important. And here's what I'm going to say: is a couple things. One, like, don't worry if you don't have this figured out to where it's you know just something that's like a meaning beyond yourself or your family. I think there's a lot of like training, coaching, whatever out there that implies that if you don't have some why that involves going out and saving the whales or saving the trees or feeding the homeless or saving dogs, whatever, that you're doing it wrong. I think the way you need to treat this is define what fulfillment looks like for you and what it looks like for the people that are ultimately important to you, um, at whatever level, whether it's your dependents or, just your direct family, right? And the people you're responsible for, or if it goes beyond that to where there's other people that are important to you that feed the why that you have, like, great. But just think of fulfillment when you think of why. And whatever that means for you, I don't want you to be told that it's wrong or that it needs improvement. Because ultimately, if you're using these tools effectively and consistently, your why will evolve over time. So don't ever go into one of these training, coaching sessions, whatever, and like, you'll be challenged on this concept compared to the way that I'm delivering it. You'll be challenged to like really get deep and personal and spiritual or whatever, right? Like, do you. Don't let, as long as you're fulfilled, don't let anybody tell you that you're wrong. Now, as long as fulfillment doesn't lead to criminal or immoral activity, right? I guess that's where we can draw the line in the sand. But just figure out what you and fulfillment for you needs to look like, and wrap your head around a definition of that, and understand that it's going to evolve from here, and it's going to adjust, and it may change completely. Your why 10 years from now is likely to be definitely different than what it is now, but it could be totally different. Who knows? You may end up wanting to go save the trees 10 years from now and you have no desire to right now. That's okay. So just, you know, why this is important is to ultimately be able to establish goals that you have for yourself based on what fulfillment looks like for you or your family. And when we use goal setting, when you're crafting it based on what is important to you and what your why is, and you're able to establish specific, tangible, like, material things, fine, or just, you know, like what you want to accomplish in life, those are your goals. So I want you to think both short term and long term with this, to where if in 2026 you and the family had a great time renting a boat on the lake that one weekend, and now everybody wants to buy a boat and get a slip at the marina and go out every weekend, and that's a material goal that you have that ultimately leads to fulfillment, that's a goal. Great. We'll talk about how, to plan for it next, but that's an example of a goal. That's a short term goal. If you need a new car, or want a new car, or want a new house, or, you know, a Louis Vuitton bag, I don't, whatever, it doesn't matter. But also think of non financial things, right? Like if you want to be healthier, you want to lose 10 pounds, you want to be more spiritually connected and go to church every weekend, whatever it is, like that becomes goals. If you want to be more socially connected and go to happy hour with friends that you've lost touch with over the years, that's a goal. Establish what is important to you to achieve, and again, establish it so that it's there and something that you can you can chase, right? A goal needs to be chased. It needs to be set in order to chase it. So think both short term and long term, and in the long term side of things, like, however old or young you are, you need to start thinking about your retirement. Because if you don't, time goes by quick and you're losing all that compound effect that you can create for yourself by taking action now, even if you're hearing this and you're 25 years old. And if you have that advantage of being that young, you're gonna be really, really happy when you get to be old and gray in the beard like I am at 41 years old, of, man, I wish I would have freaking heard this from somebody when I was that age. Or I wish I would have taken more action when I was that age. Like, the compound effect compound interest specifically, Warren Buffett says is the eighth wonder of the world for a reason. And the factor of time is what plays into that. So, back to your why, back to your goals, like what age do you want to retire and what do you want that to look like? And could you take a guess as to what it's going to cost to fund the lifestyle that you want at that age? And also how much longer you want to live from there. Because if you need 40 years of $300,000 of income to fund the life that you want to live for those 40 years when you're retired, you're going to need to, well, we'll get to it, but you're going to need professional help to establish what that looks like and how to go about it. But you're going to need to start chipping away at that now in order to save and invest properly to reach that. So the sooner you get on board with your retirement plan, the more real it becomes of happening. So goal setting in terms of the tangible aspects that are personal to you, we haven't talked about, I need to make this much money and I need to sell this many homes to do it. But the goal setting piece is key so that you can then head to the next tool, the income goal that you have. And I'm going to fly through this. And there's this is where I'm willing to help anybody at a personal level as much as you want with your personal financial situation. But the income goal is, defined by what you need to live plus what you need to uh, create for yourself in order to reach the goals that you've set. So like living expenses plus, investment related expenses, or just, factoring in it's going to cost $50,000 to buy that boat and that money's going to have to come from somewhere. Plus, sorry, but you got to pay Uncle Sam too. So here's the 5-part equation to create your income goal. And again, I'm going to fly through it. So get with me to work on it, separately at a more detailed level. The first category is going to be your fixed personal expenses. So whatever it costs to live for you, your family, whatever the situation is, that you cannot cut any of these categories. Like you need shelter, you need a place to live, you need a car in our market, you need insurance, you need food, you need, clothes, like those basic human needs. Your kid goes to private school, there's a cost to that, and that's a fixed expense. That's a choice, but that's it's part of your life. Budget for it. Second category is non-fixed personal expenses or variable expenses, but think of this as lifestyle expenses. Now, first of all, work hard, play hard. Okay. Like this isn't a conversation about, trim the fat where needed, right? But unless part of your why and your goals are to just, be minimalist, that's fine if that's the case. But just what this conversation is about is to just budget for what you need to budget for financially in life so that you can then establish a business goal to go fund it. But I think food is a great example or how to relate to the differences between your fixed goals your fixed expenses and your variable expenses. Excuse me. And you need groceries, you need food in order to live. And maybe it's part of your, overall plan to where there's going to be a date night once a week with your spouse. It's going to cost you $150 per week, and whatever 150 times 52 is, that's the budget for that. If you can't afford that date night once per week, that is something that is a lifestyle expense, and you can't get away with not eating, period. But if push came to shove and you had to, now you're looking at this category of things in terms of where to trim the fat. Now, maybe you find out in this exercise, like, wow, we're really eating out 3 times a week. Should we be doing that? If you can afford it, do whatever you want. If you can't, like, this is also a category where you're gonna cut expenses, where you're gonna trim the fat. So what I would be doing is just looking at a bank statement. Well, if your expenses are consistent month in and month out, and you can get away with looking at the past month, and that leads you through this exercise, great. If you go deeper into a 3-month period or a year, fine. But just get a handle on your expenses, itemize them, and budget for the next year. In this exercise, you'll find things that just need to be cut, right? So, like, if you're looking at all your subscription expenses and you see Netflix, Hulu, and Disney Plus, and then it's like, all right, the kids watch Disney Plus, we watch Netflix, nobody's watching Hulu. Cut it. Save yourself the $15 a month, whatever it is. It adds up over time. But first 2 categories are around personal expenses. Third category is going to be your business expenses. Just what it costs to fund your business, to go out and do what you got to do to make the money. I'll say, if you don't have a separate account for your business where everything flows in and out of, go establish one right now. If you do, again, take a look at that history and set the budget for 2026 accordingly, based on, there's a planning piece that ties into that. But you've got a good idea if you've been doing this. If you're not new, if you're new, then you're gonna kind of take a guess at it, and I can help with that. Fourth category is the goals. Okay. So this is where, okay, in the next year, we want to buy a boat, we want to remodel our bathroom, and my financial advisor is telling me that I need to give them 20 grand a year in order to reach my retirement plan. Okay, the boat's going to be 50, the bathroom remodel is going to be 20, and I got 20 to the financial advisor. We're at 90K in that category right there alone, in that example. But you're budgeting for it, so it becomes real. So now what you do is add up the first 4 categories: fixed expenses, variable expenses, business expenses, and what it costs to fund your goals. Not here to give professional accounting advice, but I would recommend, unless you're already in a higher tax bracket, to multiply that total number of the 4 categories by 0.3, 30% tax bracket. Should be conservative. And now you know what you have to pay Uncle Sam. That's the 5th category of taxes. So now you're able to add up all 5 of those categories, and there's the income you need to make for 2026. Now we're able to take that number and plug it into the tool of the economic model, and that's going to show you how many homes you need to sell at the average price point that you're planning for. And then you're going to be able to say, okay, if I need to have 37 closings to reach this income goal, and I need to therefore be having, let's just say it's 45 under contract to close 37. In order to get 45 under contract, I need to be working with 90 people throughout the year. And in order to work with 90 people, I need to go on 3 appointments a week. In order to go on 3 new appointments a week, I need to have 56 conversations a week. Whatever that model is going to spit out for you, but that's what that tool is designed to do. And again, my job becomes to help you build it and follow it. But where the economic model becomes critical is, this is where you create the standards for yourself as to what you need to be doing on a week in, week out basis, and ideally day in and day out. From the standard of, like, okay, this model tells me that if I'm going to go out and sell 37 homes, and that's that goal is there for a reason, and it's specific because it allows me to make the money that I need to make to do everything in my life that I want to do in the next year. Well, in order to do that, I have a standard of 57 conversations that I need to make, whatever your model says. And if I'm doing what I need to be doing in those 57 conversations each week, it should give me 3 appointments each week for new business. And now you can get to a point where you're just following that model and following the standards that come with it. And living a lifestyle of that chase and also that audit process that comes with, did I do what I had to do this week or not? Now, we're going to build this model off of a 40-week year and not 52, obviously, but not 50. And common answer I get of like, how many weeks a year are you going to work is 48. So you're factoring in a vacation or two a year, you're factoring in the holidays, and maybe you're factoring in getting sick. Whatever. But that doesn't leave any room for error, and that's not a good way to build a plan. You have to be conservative here. So following these standards, if you come out of the gate Q1 2026 and it's into February and you're looking in the mirror and it's like, man, I really only worked 1 week of that month where I was able to meet that standard or go at it with tenacity in order to meet it. And now you're looking at it like, okay, there's 3 weeks out of the 12 that I have, to fail at. I only got 9 left of the year. I've got 2 vacations plans. Now we're down to 7. I know how Christmas and, New Year's week and Thanksgiving weeks play out. Now I'm down to 5 and it's only February. That's looking in the mirror. But that's what this tool of the economic model allows you to do. Next set of tools are basically the critical, like, you have to have this in place in order to function as a sales business owner in any industry. And that's your database, your pipeline, and the system that allows you to know who you need to contact and when. But that's the foundation of the tools for your sales business. If you just operate with those three, that's gonna lead you to lead generating. Because the system's telling you who to contact and when, and you're contacting people from your database with the intent of having them land in your pipeline. If you just play that game all day long, all week long, you'll be good. Now, these between the economic model and the database pipeline and system tools, you're now able to go out and craft an annual business plan based on all the above so far. To where now the annual business plan answers the question of, okay, how am I going to go out and have 57 conversations a week that lead to 3 appointments for new business? How am I going to effectively use my database and my systems in order to create a pipeline big enough to sell 37 homes, I think is the scenario I've been using. And what needs to be on here to allow that to happen? The beauty of the day and age that we live in now is like this business planning, task used to be like a, hours and hours and weeks of, actual thought and, process and writing and thinking, etc. Just plug it into ChatGPT or whatever AI tool of choice and tell it, I have a goal of selling 37 homes at an average price point of $250,000 in the Rochester, New York market that I specialize in. I'd like you to build me a business plan that is focused on reaching that goal by creating 3 key priorities that for each priority has 5 specific, measurable, attainable, repeatable, and time-bound strategies that I can act on. And it'll spit out a 1, 3, 5. you'll hear me say this over and over again. I don't care if you use a 135 GPS, whatever you want to call it. Just have a plan that you're following. However, it needs to be filled with actions that are smart. And that SMART acronym: specific, measurable, attainable, repeatable, and time bound. So that, you know, just lead generating or contacting my database is a concept, but not smart. But making 13 sphere of influence calls with a specific strategy uh, every day is smart. The weekly plan is basically just the checklist that you're following to fulfill what you need to fulfill in terms of the standards that you need to reach per week. And then ultimately combining to be able to reach all the objectives that you have in your annual plan. And the process should be that you're just creating this weekly plan each week that once you get going, you're just going to pick up on the last week and see what works, see what didn't, where you left off, what you didn't do, and does it need to be carried over or not. Plus, reference the annual plan to see if you're on track to do all the things that you've committed to doing. And I guess I didn't spend enough time on the commitment piece with the plans that you create. Don't put stuff on a plan that you're not committed to doing. It's pointless. If you're not willing to go door knock and you have door knocking on your business plan, it's a waste of time. Now, if there's things that you need to do in order to, get committed on things that need to happen, different story. But just focus on what you're going to act on and then have the weekly plan be the accountability tool that, you know, tells you how you're doing or tells you where you're falling short. And this also allows for the element to come in play where you're not just creating this annual plan, went to business planning clinic and spent the day there and, everything that you took from it went in the trunk and then you cleaned it out in the spring. So this becomes an accountability tool. The growth plan is basically what do you need to learn in order to achieve your goals? And to have a tool that stores this what you're pursuing, what you're learning, right? And what just like the way I think of this is like you're not going to be able to keep up with everything that comes across your plate in terms of just our company is a great company, right? It would be tough to like get every KWRI email and consume it on a weekly basis. But like you may get an email with a new MREA podcast that seemed interesting to you that you really want to dive into, but it's Tuesday night when you got it and you're at, practice with the kids and negotiating 3 offers and looking at your schedule tomorrow and the next day and it's a complete show. Well, save that podcast, put it in your growth plan, and that way when you have that learning time, you choose what to pick from. Now, I'll also say, like, I'm never here to there's a certain arrogance to what I'm about to say, but I want to start by saying, like, I'm not here to say don't go seeking information or learning from anything else. But my pursuit is to be able to have this partnership um, be one-stop shopping for everything, including what you need to learn. And I realize I provide a lot of content that my mindset is like, here's what you need to prioritize to consume and digest over anything else. And if you just follow what I said, and find a way to get through it on your own time, at your own pace, you'll be checking that personal development box that's needed for your business. And your growth plan won't need to be as, intense. But again, that's not to say like, don't go learning anywhere else. But that's the design of this partnership. Last tools are really the people around you in your business. The first concept of an organization chart. Again, understand you don't need to have a team to, be in a position to have an organization chart. Each individual agent, whether you're on a team or a solo agent in the brokerage, you have to have an organization chart. And you have to know the roles that are integral to your business, like an attorney, like a lender, like a home inspector, like a photographer, like somebody that handles marketing, somebody that handles transaction coordination. Things of those nature, right? That one, give you clarity on who's doing what for you. Two, if you're sending business to these partnerships like attorneys and lenders, photographers, I mean, everything, right? Like a lot of other ancillary businesses depend on us for a certain segment or a lot of their business. Now you're in a position where it's like, hey, aside from great service for my clients, what have you done for me lately? So I'm doing a hell of a lot for you. I can do the math. I know what you're making. And again, appreciate all that you're doing, but we're gonna need to, it's okay to approach this from a quid pro quo standpoint. Scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. Find those partnerships. But then to also think ahead of where your business is going to be, where you want it to be, and what leverage you're going to need through the roles that need to be fulfilled in the business. So for example, if you're doing all of your marketing right now and all of your transaction coordination, and the goal is to build a bigger business, well, eventually there's just a, effective hourly rate, right? And like, what is your hourly rate compared to what you can hire somebody else for to do the same activity that's not designed to be where you make your money? So you don't make your money on processing transactions. You make your money on, the activities in that economic model and using your database pipelines and systems. But that gives you, the concept for the future and the framework for the future as well that you can plan around. Tie into the organization chart is the financial team around you. You have to have a CPA, you have to have a financial advisor. And make sure that those are partnerships that can lead to, there's a lot of detail that's needed on that goal setting piece for retirement that you're going to need to get professional help from. An accountant is there to help you keep as much money as possible and not pay it to the government. The financial advisor being the piece that, helps you invest the money that you keep so that you can get where you want to get to in the long run in life financially and to be able to fund the life that you want to live. But the tools, I mean, a P&L. No matter what level of business that you have, start using a P&L now. If you brand new and hearing this and don't have any business yet, start using a P&L now because you have expenses. But you'll be able to create a good habit out of this practice for when your business is, you've got a lot more zeros attached to it. That's the foundation of this business. The good news is, so again, I realize, okay, whew, that's a lot. What the hell, dude? But understand that it really doesn't need to go any further than this. You could take this and just create a lifestyle off of this that don't get me wrong, there'll be variations to it. There may be, things that change that, can be added to it potentially. I don't know what they are yet. If anybody's got any ideas of what I'm missing, bring it on. Not trying to, have this be drowning, right? But here to evolve. AI is an example, right? Of evolvement to where like how does AI fit into each of these categories for you is how to go about thinking about that topic. But I'm willing to bet that, you know, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, I'm giving the same presentation or a similar one. So the sooner that you establish efficiency in each of these categories, the better. And for those that, we've been partnered together already for a time, the question becomes like, grade yourself and what's the gap to improving the grade? But you need to not neglect this. You need to focus on it. You need to spend some time on it. This is you know, the personal development type of stuff to make sure that you have this in play. Like put priority on this over, I don't know, whatever time you're going to spend to learn how to host an open house, for example. I don't know. I mean, if you're a new agent, yes, you need that stuff, right? But like, just there's so much learning opportunity out there, and make sure it's focused on establishing these tools for your business. This is my message of how to prioritize to you. All right, Dom, Steve, I stopped recording. Thanks for listening to me ramble. What questions do you guys have?
All right. Sorry. No, it's good. I'm working through my economic model and, just getting on board with everything you're doing, man. So it's good stuff. Now, hey, actually, I do have a question. Maybe everybody else already knows, but the economic model that you gave over to me at the beginning, is that like kind of what you're basing on, like the numbers that are in there, you kind of ones you plugged in for me, or?
Yeah, that was a guess. Like we'll get more detailed to it. So
Okay.
ultimately, what everybody needs to do, because this is just again business planning time of year, is figure out that income goal.
Yeah.
You can do the economic model the right way to where it's like, okay, here's what you need to live and here's what you need to fund your goals. And then it's all right, to make that money, you need to sell this many homes based on conversions and estimated conversions. But
Cool. Yeah, I'll play with it.
love it.
Oh, and then actually one more question, if you don't mind. What do people do for like daily trackers? Because like I do my calls and stuff. Do you know how people are kind of doing that as far as, because like I'm on Friday, I'm like trying to look back and I don't know
Yeah.
what the best process is. Like just come up with a sheet, you think?
My answer is whatever works for you. Right. It's not, that's where it's like totally not formal.
Whatever works. Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
And all of this is really like, if you're adhering to like what I just laid out, right? And that playbook that I give you that's just an example. Like, here's how to think about it. And if you create something that's better for you, I will never tell anybody that if you're consistently using something and you could also prove the results that it's working or be on the way to that, I will never tell you you're doing it wrong. So whether it's a CRM or database or a system, right, to tell you what to do next, like it's if it gets you into action and it works, then it works. So yeah, I mean, to answer your question though, like tracking, like I know, like you could have a little sticky note next to each day. You could have a main type of notebook. You can tally it up at the end of the day. Like that's what I do. Is like I'll go
I do.
and just look at all the messages, all the calls, know who I talked to, know who I didn't, and just tally them up that way.
Roger that.
So,
all right.
Rock on.
All right, well, see you, man.
All right, guys.
Thanks, brother.
Good weekend. Let me know what I can help with.
Thanks,
Have
bro.
a good weekend, guys.
All right, John.
See you guys.
See you.
Bye.